About 10 years ago, I was doing some freelance journalism, mostly sports. I got the opportunity to interview Terry Funk at an event where he was a special guest referee. Upon meeting Terry, I gave him a light wrestler-like handshake. He got a crazed look in his eye and said to me, "Son, unless you're going to get in that ring and get your ass kicked, don't shake hands like that. Shake like a man." I looked over at the ring and joked it would almost be worth it to get beat up by you. He shook his head, called me a mark, and gave me a great interview, which unfortunately never got printed as the editor didn't like wrestling. Would he have really beaten me up? I got the feeling he wasn't kidding. Any Terry versus fan stories?
Well, it actually, as to the question of would he really beat him up, I can't speak for Terry, and it probably would have depended on the mood he came in. Having said that, I don't really, of all the times that I've saw Terry Funk, I never remember seeing him actually, I know he has many times, but he never had to actually hit any of the fans because he had that weird way where he would put that fucking face on and get up in whoever's face it was, they would back up or back down as soon as he started talking to him with that look in his eyes. You've seen it. So he never actually, in my presence, had to whack anybody because he could scare him off just by looking at him.
Do you remember the first time it happened to you when you were shooting Ringside? And
yes. Well, because the thing is, he wouldn't just start chasing somebody. Something big would happen that would cause him to bail out on the floor, right? And he would bail out on the floor and he'd spin around a couple of times and he would make sure that the whole building was seeing that he was disoriented, and then he would stop. And then he would look in your direction. And then his arms would start to turn, and he'd start to turn his feet, and the whole building would see now that he had changed his attention to something. And he might even start to raise his finger like you, just to make sure everybody knew where he was going, and you did too. And when you saw the look at his face, then he would take 2 steps towards you, and you would run as fast as you could in a complete opposite direction, or around the ring in circles, or wherever the fuck you had to go to get away from him. And there was not any thought of, maybe let's just see what will happen some night and let him catch me. That was not an option because you never knew. But everybody in the building knew exactly what he was going to do and what he was going for. And then that got over.
I just realized after I asked that question, I asked you about, do you remember the first time you saw it when you were shooting Ringside? Of course, the famous time you were already in the business in the studio when he chased you and you ripped your pants off. I've never seen you run that fast, ever. Than when he was chasing you.
You think?
Oh
yeah, because I had no idea what was going to go on there. This was not, as they say, part of the entertainment programming. This was a complete shoot. And I assume that they tried to ask somebody if they thought I was wearing underwear, or maybe he didn't. I don't know, because I don't know that he had even planned to do that until he got out there. They were going to fuck around with me some kind of way, but I don't even think Lawler knew. And Terry didn't care whether Memphis TV got kicked off the air for having my balls flapping around.